fifth meeting of the Appropriations and Revenue Committee for the State Senate in 2025. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Here. Senator Funky Fromeyer. Present. Senator Gibbons.
Here.
Senator Maiden.
Here.
Senator Neal. Senator Nunn.
Here.
Senator Rawlings. Senator Richardson.
Here.
Senator Webb. Vice Chair Mays Bledsoe. Chair McDaniel.
Here. Very well. Having a quorum, we're duly constituted to conduct business. We will proceed. Let's see. All right, first up is House Bill 545. If you want to go ahead and take a look here. This is a bill that we see every year. This is a claims bill. Representative, all right, very good. I apologize. I didn't see you over there. All right, very good. Well, if you'd like to identify yourself for the record and proceed.
All right, I'm Representative Tim Truitt, 89th House District. Chairman, I appreciate you for, it looks like you was going and start. It's a very simple claims bill, as you guys have been through this before. These are the bills that we owe, and like I told in the House, you know, we like to pay our bills in Kentucky. So if there's any questions, obviously if I can't answer them, I'm sure Chairman McDaniel can. So thank you.
Very good. Senator Boswell, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Maiden. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell.
Aye.
Senator Funky Fromeyer.
Aye.
Senator Gibbons.
Aye.
Senator Maiden.
Aye.
Senator Mays Bledsoe. Senator Neal. Senator Nunn.
Aye.
Senator Rawlings. Senator Richardson. Senator Webb. Chair McDaniel.
Aye. Being 9 aye votes, no nay votes, the measure passes with favorable expression. David, are we doing consent stuff?
Not yet.
We're not going to entertain a motion for consent. Measure does carry. Very well. Representative, nice work today.
Thank you, Chairman.
It's good seeing you. All right, next up, we're going to do House Joint Resolution 54. We do have representatives from the Fair Board in attendance today, but I think that most of you have seen the Fair Board personnel over the course of either the interim or since we've been in here in session. And you'll recall that we appropriated some money pending a plan from them regarding the next phases of the expansion at the fairgrounds. And this is simply the resolution acknowledging that we have received that plan, that we approve that plan, and that the funds are to be released. Does anyone have any questions on this?
Make a motion.
A motion by Senator Boswell, second by Senator Mays Bledsoe. Any questions at this time? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Boswell.
Aye.
Senator Funky Fromeyer.
Aye.
Senator Gibbons.
Aye.
Senator Maiden.
Aye.
Senator Mays Bledsoe. Senator Neal. Senator Nunn.
Aye.
Senator Rawlings. Senator Richardson.
Aye.
Senator Webb. Chair McDaniel.
Aye. Being 9 aye votes, no nay votes, the measure does pass with favorable expression onto the floor. Thank you guys very much. Last up, we will take up House Bill 694. This bill is Representative Petrie's bill, but I'm going to handle the explanation of it. In brief, the Kentucky Teachers Retirement System back even prior to my arriving here, I believe 2010, it was in a period of strained liquidity on the health side of the pension of the retirement system. That strained liquidity resulted in a situation where money was transferred from the pension side to the health side. The money on the pension side was then replaced with a series of bonds that the Commonwealth issued and paid off in their entirety. Part of that involved some additional contributions onto the health side of the plan. As the health side is approaching fully funded, this bill basically states that once the plan is 100% funded, that the money, the employer contributions from the local districts that are currently going into the health side would go to the pension side As you know, we have maintained a tremendous financial commitment to maintain the integrity and restore the integrity of the Kentucky Teachers Retirement System. This is just another step in trying to ensure that as monies come in, they are applied appropriately to be able to continue our commitment to the integrity of that system. That is the nature of the bill. Senator Neal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm trying to unravel this for a minute. I was trying to do that last night. I'm trying to figure this out. So, even though it reaches 100%, the teachers, I guess, continue to pay. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And until when?
Until we would take action otherwise.
So there's no cap on this. I'm trying to understand the rationale.
My
for that. If they
understanding
get
of
100%,
my understanding of the agreement, and then frankly, I think you may be the only one on this committee when that agreement was passed.
I remember.
So my understanding of the
So
nature
follow
of it
my
is
lead.
that is what you guys agreed to many, many years ago.
I'm sorry. Say it again. I'm sorry, sir.
I said that my understanding of the agreement is that is what you guys agreed to many, many years ago.
Yeah, if I remember correctly.
Maybe not many, many years ago, Senator.
No, many years ago. You're correct. If I may.
Yes.
If I remember correctly, on the pension side, there was a reason why those funds are drawing on funds, are maintaining some commitment from the teacher side, could not go forward because of some contractual relationship. Is that correct? Involved? I forget.
I don't necessarily know that is in play as it relates to the health side of this.
I guess what I'm
arrangement,
trying to
Senator.
find out is if you get to 100%, why are you still paying?
Because I would argue there will still be obligations to be met on that side, Senator. But certainly, if you have another question, we're happy to address it.
I have about 15 questions. Will you?
All
No,
right.
I'm trying to understand this. It's something doesn't smack fair to me in this process. I'm concerned about that. I'm wondering, and I'm not getting all the answers here, and I'm thinking, should we be moving on this now, or should we be looking into this deeper and have all the parties at the table and work this out so that it's balanced and fair and embraced by all parties and beneficial? I mean, this is and there's no end to it, as I think I understood your response. I don't know. It bothers me, and I'm going back and I'm trying to recollect what happened then. And last night I was thinking through that, and I said to myself, I said, wait a minute, why are they continuing to do that? And who was at that table and who was making those decisions about how this is going to play out, and there's no cap on the back end? That's my concern. Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you tolerating my actually working through that in my mind. I'm just wondering if perhaps we should not be taking a step on this and maybe deal with it in the interim.
Very
and
well,
get it
and
just
I
right.
do understand. And if there's a question particular to the substance of the bill, Senator, we're happy to entertain them. But I do understand where you're coming from, and happy to have you explain that at the
And I
time of the vote as
understand
well,
your
Senator.
last statement as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Other questions? All right. At this time, we have two people signed up to speak on the. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Brent McKim, Eddie Campbell, gentlemen, come on forward. If you guys would both please identify yourselves for the record, and I would ask that we limit testimony to about 5 minutes, please.
Thank you, Chair McDaniel. I'm Eddie Campbell. I'm a middle and high school music teacher from Knox County, currently on leave serving as president of the Kentucky Education Association.
Welcome.
And I'm Brent McKim. I'm the immediate past president of the Jefferson County Teachers Association, and I am so old that I was here when we actually developed the shared responsibility bill.
Thank
Floor is
you,
yours, Chairman.
thank you, Chair McDaniel. Thank you, committee. I appreciate you taking the opportunity to let us speak today and have this conversation around shared responsibility. You know, we're really excited that we're actually at the point where we can start having this conversation around the shared responsibility. Nobody expected us to get here as quickly as we have, but I want to take just a minute to give this to Senator Neal's questioning about some of the background of how we got here, because there was only 3 of you on this committee that were here: Senator Neal, Senator Givens, and Senator Webb. The rest of you weren't here when this shared responsibility conversation occurred in 2010. In 2010, when the TRS Medical Insurance Fund was depleted and the state was using portions of the pension funding to cover the medical insurance payments, employees, school districts, and retirees all stepped up and agreed by the way of the 2010 shared responsibility to step up and not only restore full funding for the medical insurance trust fund, but to share in that cost and beyond. Wait a minute. Yes, that's right. And then beyond the normal costs for those benefits, to create a sustainable and efficient fund to ensure that all certified education employees had health coverage when they retired. The shared responsibility model would eventually allow the medical insurance fund to achieve 100% pre-funded status. And when we pre-fund, it's much less expensive for the state, it's much less expensive for our employees than the pay-as-you-go system that was going on at that time, which is how the medical insurance fund had operated up until that point in 2010. We're very proud to say that as a result of the 2010 Shared Responsibility Bill, that KEA, and along with other education stakeholders who all came to the table with legislators, we are now over 80% on our way to being fully pre-funded status, with just a few years to go before we reach that goal. And this was much, much sooner than anybody ever anticipated. The 2010 reforms included key changes that redefined how costs were allocated. Under the shared responsibility model, contributions were shared amongst the state at 0.75%, local school district funds at 3%, and individual educators at 3.75%, a true shared responsibility in the cost of healthcare.
Eddie, hold on one quick second. Hey guys, welcome on in here. Go ahead. We got a couple open seats up front. Feel free. Come on up and grab a seat here. Just give us one quick second.
No,
Let
you're
these
fine.
Folks, grab a seat. All right, welcome to you guys today. All right, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. This cost-sharing mechanism was coupled with enhanced accountability measures and periodic reviews, and ensuring that all parties were incentivized to control the cost and pursue efficiencies in healthcare delivery. As a result, the fund not only achieves a greater fiscal stability, but also set precedent for sustainable management practices in public employee benefit systems. I will also point out that the original 2010 shared responsibility does have provisions in it that when the fund reached 100% funded and was sustainable, that the TRS board would be able to make recommendations on how to move forward at that point. Today, the legacy of the 2010 Shared Responsibility Initiative is reflected in the success of each of the stakeholder groups living up to their promise. By aligning the interests of the state, school districts, and educators, the TRS Medical Insurance Fund has built a more resilient and adaptable framework, one that remains focused on balancing quality healthcare benefits with responsible fiscal oversight. KEA does have some concerns with this current legislation. As it's presented, the essence of the original shared responsibility legislation was to collectively address the looming post-retirement healthcare issue, and at some point in the future, much sooner than we thought, to come back together, either through the board or have a group of the original stakeholders come to the table and address how to move forward. KEA would like to recommend that this body pause moving forward on this piece of legislation and honor the agreement made by the state with all the parties in the shared responsibility of 2010. And instead, let's spend the next year having conversations. Let's bring all the stakeholders back to the table and really look, how can we move forward to make sure we're covering the normal costs, and this the fund is not only fully funded, but is sustainable as we move forward into the future. I know when we all come together, and we've seen this as a result of the 2010 shared responsibility, when legislators, when school boards, when educators come together, we can do great things, and I think this is proof of the great work that we can do when we come together and have those discussions. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you. Again, Brent McKim, past president of the Jefferson County Teachers Association, and I want to say I'm speaking as an individual, not officially on behalf of the organization, as someone that was involved in the development of the original shared responsibility bill. As President Campbell indicated, what we were facing in 2010 was a situation where the only contributions going into the medical insurance fund at TRS were 0.75% from the state and 0.75% from employees, which was not enough to pay the actual cost of the medical insurance fund. And we wanted to not only fully pay, have enough going in to fully pay, and at that point, it was a pay-as-you-go system, but we wanted to, in essence, overpay so that we were putting in more than it actually cost, so we could build it all the way up to a pre-funded system from a pay-as-you-go system. When we did that, what we agreed to do in the shared responsibility bill, which the employee groups and the school boards and all the stakeholders worked out together and supported, what we agreed to do was to have an extra 3% come out of employee paychecks. We stepped up into that over a little bit of period of time, over 6 years, but we agreed to have an extra 3% come straight out of our paychecks. And school districts agreed to match that with 3%. So instead of 1.5% going in, it was 7.5% of pay going in, which was more than enough to pay for the benefit. And we started to build toward 100% pre-funded, which would be much less expensive for everyone. One of the issues that we have with this bill is when we passed that, the employees understood we were going to have an extra 3% come out of our paycheck. And it was made very clear that when the districts paid their 3%, the state would not be providing any kind of funding stream for that 3% from school districts. So we understood, since you could probably look at every school district in the state, and of their general fund budget, probably somewhere between 80 and 90% of their general fund budget is salaries. So we knew that when the school districts were making their 3% payment, they were told you're going to have to find ways out of your local budgets with existing funds to pay for that. So we knew really what 3% was coming directly out of our checks, but the other 3% was sort of indirectly coming from us, because that was funds that would have otherwise almost certainly gone to salaries. And we were okay with that. I don't think we've ever complained, because that's what we needed to do to get to the place that we needed to be. And we're very proud of that. But we were assured that when we reached full funding, at that point, both the employee portion would be scaled back and the employer portion would be scaled back, so that those revenues would again be available for salaries. It would be different if the state had created a funding stream for that 3%, and now the state was saying, hey, we added an extra 3% and now we want to redirect that toward pensions. It's not like that. So that's we believe, not in keeping with the promise that was made. And we actually wrote that into the law, and the law says right now, when the TRS actuary determines that the fund is fully funded, then the TRS board shall make a recommendation to the legislature. It will still be the General Assembly's decision. It will make a recommendation to the legislature about prudent and responsible scaling back of both the employee and the employer contributions. And that's what we believe we should have as a starting point. We also have concerns. Another element of this
Brent, I'm gonna
particular
need you to
bill.
wind it down just another minute or two here. So I can
Okay,
get to some
I'll
questions.
try to be really quick. Another problem is this sets full funding in the way it's currently written. Full funding is determined by the TRS actuary. This says it's fully funded when it hits 100%. That might be okay for a pension fund, but on a medical insurance fund, we rely on rebates from the federal government for Medicare for a significant portion of our funding for the post-65 portion of the fund. That could change overnight, and it would change the actuarial assumptions overnight. So we believe it might well be that an actuary would say a prudent level of funding might be 120%, because there are variables beyond our control that could change literally overnight. And we see a lot of change in DC right now, so that's not unrealistic. There are some questions about whether the state can actually legally require school districts to pay on the pension part of the funding. They certainly can for the health insurance, but the pension, there are some inviolable contract questions. And finally, there's an issue if you start requiring school districts to pay on that pension debt. The pension debt goes on to school districts' ledger sheets in ways that it doesn't currently, according to the district officials I've talked to. That could adversely impact the ledger sheets of the districts and cause their bond rating to change, and even cause bonds to cost more for the districts, and they pay more on interest unnecessarily. We have ideas if the state simply redirected its 0.75% toward this and all the funds that it currently pays for pre-65 employees toward the pension liability, and let districts and the employees share equally the cost of going forward, the actual normal cost of the plan. We'll cover 100% of our medical insurance. The state would be out of the business of doing the medical insurance payments. Put all your payments toward the pension. No issues with legality on that, and it would be a better compromise. Thank you for flexibility on the time.
Thank you. That's all right. And thank you for landing it so appropriately there. We do appreciate that. And certainly I think that you guys, there are always tremendous complexities when you get into these ERISA plans and Social Security replacement plans and things of that nature. And I think that it's another thing that will be very important to note in all of this is the idea that I think you guys would agree that in the past 8 years, the budgetary attention to the teachers' retirement system has been unparalleled in the history of the teachers' retirement system, and the excess contributions that we've made to get it caught back to where it need to be for things that were left for kind of our generation of General Assembly has been pretty unparalleled. And in everything we do, we try to keep the focus on making sure that we can provide both the annuity and health benefits that people are expecting as members of the system. With that, I'm going to go to Senator Givens first.
Mr. Chairman, very briefly, what a day to celebrate.
Yes.
What a day to celebrate. I never dreamed that in my time in the General Assembly we'd be getting to have this conversation. This is a testament, Chair McDaniel, to an early acknowledgement that we were on a path of peril. We were on a true path of peril, and everyone came together and worked together to create this shared sacrifice. And when we talk about the portions of the shared sacrifice, I like to change the phrasing just a little. We have the employer, we have the employee, and we have the taxpayer. I stress the taxpayer part because that's the other part of this equation. We often will say the state or Frankfurt, it's the taxpayer. And so I'm thrilled that we've gotten to have this conversation today, and I want to stress one more phrase that you used, Mr. Chairman, is the budgetary attention to the teacher retirement system in the last 10 years has been unparalleled. And that's huge. And we're continuing with the action you see here today to investing in that system in ways that I think are very appropriate. I know you may have other questions, but I'm going to go ahead and make a motion at this time for passage of House Bill 694.
Sorry. I have a motion. I have a second from Senator Boswell. We do have more questions. Senator Neal.
Thank you for that testimony, because that took the cloud from my head. I do recall a lot of that. particularly that relationship between Payne and that pension piece. Cleared that particular piece up. But it's clear to me that there are a lot of moving parts here. There's a lot of unknowns here, and that you came together, perhaps uncharacteristically, to create a relationship that I agree with Senator Gibbons' assessment that actually turned out to be fortuitous. So I congratulate you and the legislature on that. My concern is the same I had when I first made a comment at the beginning of this, is that, well, let me make the question, then I'd like to make a statement.
Go ahead, Senator. You see why I needed the time?
This is one of the great chairpersons that the legislature has produced. Does that help?
It does.
No,
You have 3 more minutes, sir.
I'll do it in one. What's 2 things are bothering me now. One was you did this with the expectation that TRS would make recommendations when we got to a certain point. And my question is, has that been done? Has that exchange taken place? Has TRS produced something, or has it been requested, or is it in this conversation at this point?
Either one, gentlemen.
What's in statute right now says when the TRS actuary indicates that the medical insurance fund is fully funded, only at that point will the TRS board make a recommendation to the General Assembly for the General Assembly's consideration. I think we're a little over 80% funded right now. The bill sponsor indicates he believes as early as 2027, maybe a little later than that, we might reach that point. So we're not there yet. And as I said, it may require, the recommendation may be 100%, may not be full funded, because there are some variables that could change quite a bit.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Certainly.
that's what concerns me here. We came into this relationship with an expectation that certain things would be done, in fact, put it into law. And it seems that what we're doing here is precipitous and actually dismissive of that understanding and sounds like agreement that was actually put into law, and we're ahead of that, and we have not allowed that trigger to take place so that TRS can provide their recommendation and bring those good faith partners back together to get this resolved. Mr. Chairman, I understand it's, sometimes when you have the power to do something, doesn't mean you exercise that power. I mean, there has to be integrity in the process. And when people sit down and they make agreements, they at least should come back to the table and discuss that if they have to adjust. Because sometimes you can't anticipate that certain things happen, certain opportunities come up, certain realities you have to face. You come back to the table. I don't see this as coming back to the table. And that gives me major concern. Now, I recommend that we slow this down a little bit and perhaps kick this to the interim so that we can get into that and deal with all these moving parts, readjust this, keep good faith, and move with integrity. Mr. Chairman, those are my comments.
Thank you, Senator. Do appreciate it. Any other questions come before the committee? At this time, we have a motion and a second. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell.
I'd like to vote aye and explain my vote.
Okay.
I think
Limit to 3
this-
minutes, sir.
No, I want to say that I have the utmost confidence in the integrity of the people that brought this bill. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Senator Funky Fromeyer.
Pass.
Senator Givens.
Aye.
Senator Maiden. Senator Mays Bledsoe.
I vote and explain.
Yes, ma'am. 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be brief. I wasn't here when those agreements were being made, and this is part of a process. And a number of times we say trust the process. I haven't had the chance to talk to my superintendents about this at all, and I feel like that's part of my due diligence. So I'm going to vote aye to allow the conversation to continue, and that's where I'm headed next. Thank you.
Senator Neal.
I'd like to explain my no vote.
3 minutes, sir.
And let me clarify something real quickly. When I talk about integrity, I'm not talking about human individual integrity of people. I'm talking about integrity of the process. So let's not confuse that based upon comments I just heard. But let me say this, that I think it's very important for us to not, regardless of our intentions, regardless of what we think we should be doing, not bring people back to the table as we have agreed when they came in good faith from the beginning and just kick that aside. I just don't think that is the proper way to proceed. I vote no.
Senator Nunn. Senator Rawlings.
Aye. And may I register my attendance and a yes vote on 545?
It's noted. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Senator Richardson. Senator Webb. Chair McDaniel.
Aye. 8 aye votes, 1 no vote, 1 pass vote. The measure passes with favorable expression. Does anyone else need to record a vote before we adjourn? Seeing none, committee will stand adjourned.
Okay, can you sign these before you leave?
Hey, David. I'm asking real quick.
I did. I marked down 6. I didn't write the ones on the motion.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yep. Appreciate the time. I'm sorry to have keep rushing you there, but
he was generous. So you're retired now. Congratulations to you.
Would spend all that time, trying to look out for TRS. I need to take advantage of it at least for a while.
yeah. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Everybody got one. Just pass it out. All right.
For sure. Thank you guys for a great meeting. I'm sorry that I was so last minute with the bills, but unfortunately, 3 o'clock yesterday. So.
The specific details of the